think most founders go into it with, deep down thinking, man, I'd love to build this up and get acquired for, hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, right? But once you get to the point where you've grinded and you've sweated and you've built it, and now you're revenue positive, you're cash flow positive, you're making money, and you're in it, 4 or 5, 6 years, and now you're making a ton of money, right, on your product. You now it's like now you have your thought process is different.
Are you a scaling SaaS founder? Ready to make the leap from leading a team to leading an organization? Join us each week as we refill your think tank with actionable tips and strategies from great business minds you know and those who don't know yet. This is SaaS Fuel with your host, 5-time entrepreneur, SaaS founder, and globetrotting adventurer, Jeff Maines.
Welcome back to the SaaS Fuel podcast, where building a healthier future means upgrading your habits, not your hardware. Because let's face it, your fridge doesn't need AI. You just need to stop storing cookies in the vegetable drawer. I'm your host, Jeff Maines. I hope B2B SaaS founders like you grow from traction to scale. Here, growth is more than just numbers. It's about crafting a future-proof company, premium valuation, and leaders who build a business of significance while living epic, adventurous lives. What makes a snack stand out in a sea of health claims? Glossy packaging and buzzwords like keto friendly or diabetic safe? Nope, nope, nope. It's not just a label, it's the story behind it, kind of like your brand. In this episode, we're unpacking how powerful, purpose driven branding can turn niche health products into beloved household names. We'll dive into why the most successful consumer goods brands don't just sell benefits, they sell belief. Think authentic storytelling, real founder journeys, and brand identities that actually mean something to the people buying your product. But going niche doesn't mean playing small. We're talking about the real challenges of scaling without losing the soul of your brand and what it takes to grow with integrity while avoiding the trap of Me Too product lines. We'll also get into the blind spots founders don't always see coming, like trying to do everything alone. Delegation isn't just about survival, it's about enabling real growth. We'll also explore how often going deep beats going wide. So if you're building a brand that wants to do more than just take up browser space, this episode is your playbook. Let's jump in. Our founder on Tuesday was Gahazen Mansour, CEO of Technology Rivers. With deep expertise in product innovation and business growth strategy, Gahazen helps companies build scalable tech that doesn't just solve problems, but anticipates them. He broke down how AI is transforming development speed, why SaaS is never a one-time build, and the mindset shift founders need to thrive in an automated, outcomes-driven world. Our expert guest last week was Evan Schwartz. From roles as COO to adjunct professor, Evan is a systems thinker who has led AI-enabled sustainability initiatives and scaled cross-functional enterprise solutions. Evan spoke about the transformation of work in the age of AI, the future of education rooted in creativity, and why documenting current processes is the first step to any meaningful innovation. If you missed either episode, go back and check those out. My guest today is Josh Sizemore, a serial entrepreneur and strategic executive with over 25 years of experience scaling businesses across retail, CPG, wellness, and e-commerce. He's held executive roles as CEO and president across billion-dollar brands, serves on the boards of organizations like Caltech and Goodwill, and brings unmatched insight into building brands that balance storytelling, scalability, and sharp execution. Whether he's launching health-forward CPG ventures or steering high-growth platforms, Josh is the rare leader that combines vision with gritty operational discipline. Welcome, Josh Sizemore. Hey, Josh, welcome to SaaS Fuel.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Well, Feast Fast targets a niche but fast-growing health audience. What's the biggest challenge in scaling a specialized product without diluting the brand?
The brand dilution can come in many ways. I think if you're true to what you're trying to do in the market and you're passionate about it, you're authentic about it, you're telling the story from a founder's perspective, a position of one that's experienced it before, and it's aligned with kind of your drivers and internally.
I think it's interesting when you're launching a brand online before you go retail. How do you know when it's time? What are the key digital signals that tell you it's time to scale offline and move into other channels?
Yeah, it's a combination of different things. I think it's one, you've built a presence where the distributor is reaching out or the retailer is reaching out to the distributor. Retail is a funny thing because it's almost like chicken or the egg. If a distributor wants you, but the retailers don't want you, then they're not going to bring you in. If a retailer wants you but you don't have distribution to that retailer, well, how are you going to get there? So it's got to all kind of work in synchron together and kind of synchronize itself up. But so if you've built your presence up good enough for the retailer or distributor to want you, that's one way. And your consumer base, like eventually, no matter how much direct to consumer or Amazon or whatever you're getting, there's still, a $50 billion industry in brick and mortar and retail and grocery, right? Like, so you have to be there. It's just a matter of when, right? And you can definitely go too soon and you can miss the bus and go too late. So that's kind of a fine line as well. But I think as long as you have the right mindset of slow and steady into retail and go deep and not wide, then you're setting yourself up for success. Because even if, consumers are wanting you, retailers are wanting you, and then you go nationwide, right out of the gate, that's not really beneficial if you don't have the manpower to do so. So if, let's say, you just got into 100 Whole Foods, right? Well, geographically, 25 of those Whole Foods probably take care of itself because you sell the majority of your, snacks in California, right? So California may take care of itself, but the stores in Kentucky, Florida, Texas, they don't really know about your product. So how are you going to sell those, right? How are you going to get that product off the shelf? And so if you don't have your internal teams to set up, like taste testing and, displays and for folks to try like every day or every other day, then you're really you're setting yourself up for failure, because that's the biggest way to really penetrate those markets and those stores and those customers is, set up a table, making sure you're there at peak times, 3 to 6, 3 to 7, and giving samples constantly. Samples, and if you don't have a cadence of that for, once every other day in every store in that region, you're really missing out. So just think of the manpower you need for that, right?
Right.
It's a lot, right? So
it is.
Yeah.
It is.
So just having the mindset of, okay, I'm going to go into 20 Whole Foods, go deep, get my sell through up to X percent. And when it's at that percent, I know I've captured market share versus the other competition in those stores. And then I'm going to go out 20 more stores or 50 more stores, so slow and steady. And that's what I implore, all folks that I talk to, first time founders, anyone to kind of take that strategy. And I know it's hard because once you get that to that sell through percentage, the distributors are like, hey, we can get you into 100, 200, 500, 1,000 stores, tomorrow. And you want to do it because it's a signal that, it's another success signal, but you have to just stick to the play of slow and steady until you have the capital and the resources to hire 100 people or whatever to get to those stores,
It doesn't really matter what it is. There's lots of competitors, and it's a very crowded space. One of the things you said was explaining complex product benefits quickly. It's tough, but what's your go-to tactic for grabbing attention without oversimplifying and standing out in that crowded marketplace?
That's the secret sauce. And once and it's a lot of testing, ensuring that you have the right email and text flows set up through like a platform like Klaviyo. We just went through an audit for our email flow system, and our flows were pretty good, but we were leaving a lot of money on the table with no text, no campaigns. We have our meta team running 30 variations of ads per day to see which ones perform better than the others, and then they're switching 25 or 26 of them off, leaving 4 on, and then doing vice versa every day, just to see what ads are working the best, so we can really double and triple down. Now you have AIs, people going to Google, they're going to ChatGPT or any AI bot, asking them,
Right.
which keto snack brand is the best, right? And now you have companies that are creating that language within the AI, just like the Google ads, or the Google experts, or
Right.
putting your keywords into Google. They're doing it now for AI. So it's 1, 2, or 3 steps ahead of like where we're at now. It's coming. And if you can get ahead of that, then you're going to be in a better position.
You led teams across big retailers, scrappy startups. What's one principle that applies no matter what the company size or vertical?
Communication. If you don't have that communication and the transparency really between you and your next employee and the next employee and the next employee, things will get missed. Just like in a big company, like when I was at Lacoste or building Shinola, or those retail brands, if we were building out 30 stores and, there wasn't correct communication with, the head of operations and the head of visual and the head of finance and, head of marketing, and something would get missed and it would break the chain, right? Break the link. So
what kind of communication is it? Is it communication rhythm? Is it the type of communication like among the team? What have you seen that's worked really well, or something that you've seen consistent across businesses?
Yeah, I think having the right people inside the right group of communication is important. So, back in the day, it was like an intranet, right? Like we created the first intranet at Lacoste to make sure everybody was on the same page, and that was on their computers. Now, probably Slack does it the best because you can, call out different channels and put different people in those channels and, kind of always be on top of everything. So that just makes it a lot easier to communicate. Because when you have to think about when you're just communicating through text or some app virtually, then there's no emotion. So it's hard to, if somebody doesn't understand, like it doesn't have the best emotional intelligence, they might not understand that text. So, when you're not communicating directly to somebody, you have to be super aware of, okay, does this text sound kind of even keeled, or is it over the top, or is it underwhelming when you send those communications through virtually?
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. One of the things I think is brilliant about what you've done, you actually built a premium water brand. And if there's a commodity product in a crowded market space, I think water is probably the definition of that. How do you take something like that and build a premium brand around it? What was the thought process, and how does you execute so that you're able to capture market share and get that to acquisition?
Yeah, it was a wild. He wanted to get some feedback and advice on his businesses. He was an attorney, but he had a bunch of businesses, and this was in Kentucky. And I met with him, and he started talking about his businesses, and he mentioned that he owned this water aquifer in Tennessee with 3 other partners. And he said that the water, he was telling me the quality of the water and how much water was producing from this aquifer. And I was like, there's no way this is back. There's no way, because I'm a health nut, and I mean, that's all I drink is water. And so I knew, I know what's good water, what's not. And he says, plus we have a bottling facility at this that we're not using. And I'm like, this is crazy. So
what's up with that? Not using? Come on, man.
Well, they were doing it. They were running like 500 or 1,000 bottles every 2 or 3 months just for like parties. I don't know. They were not taking advantage of this thing. So I met with him again the next day because I asked him if he could bring me the documents and the proof for what he was saying, and we met, and he did. And so I kind of asked him if he could meet with me one more time. And that was the next day. And so that night I went home and I created the brand, how we wanted to go to market, the branding, like the business plan, where I saw it in 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years. And I met with him the next day. I think I stayed up literally the entire night doing it, and met with him the next day. And I said, look, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. This is how much money I'll need. If you guys want to jump in, I lived in LA at the time. I said, I'll move back in a week and jump in head first. And he said, yeah, let's do it. And so I moved from LA to Kentucky in like 7 days and went all in. And it was from that, I lived in Lexington. Not sure why I lived in Lexington, because the plant was in Tazewell, Tennessee, which is about 2.5 hours one way. And so I was driving it every day for 4 years, unless I was like in a meeting with retailers or investors. And but it was great. I mean, I was there every day, bottling the water, loading the trucks, like just in it, man. It was and it was fun. And it was my first time, like, founding a company. And it's not easy, man. Like, our mantra and our brand was amazing. The water was the best water, that I have ever tasted. And, but to your point of marketing, I wanted to make it different and stand out on every level. So the bottle was different. It was green, to kind of give you the natural aspect of it, but it wasn't blue. So when it on the shelf, you saw it first before you saw really the other bottles. Secondly, we wanted to have a give back component, kind of like Tom's Shoes. So we partnered with these NGOs, et cetera, and they would send us tanker trucks because the water was technically free. So we would just fill it up, 6,600 gallons every time. And, whatever that equated to in 1 liter bottles or 20-ounce bottles, that's how much kind of water we donated to, cities in the U.S., cities out, deprived places in Africa, et cetera. We shipped it everywhere. And, so that was a component. There was not really a premium one source U.S. water that was really taking any kind of market share at the time. So outside of Fiji and, most of that's not US. So most of the premium one source, single source waters, they're from Italy or, wherever, like Alaska, like the Arctic or wherever. Like there's not a lot of US based companies. So we thought that we had a leg up with that. So just trying to think about the entire process of how a consumer would see your brand and want to buy it. Then came the fun, the fun part was the fundraising. It took me, so with the first seed round or pre-seed, I can't remember. It was, we raised $1 million, and it took me 135 meetings.
Wow.
Before I got the first check. And the first check came in a bar at 12:30 a.m. in New York City in Times Square. The craziest shit ever.
Wow.
A lady wrote me a check for $1 million. It's crazy.
And it cleared the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's even better.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I think in retail and CPG, storytelling is everything. So how can SaaS founders better leverage brand narrative to drive both customer and investor interest?
I think to your point, storytelling is so important, and it's so much of the brand's ethos. So again, like founder stories, the people that have, whether it's the employee number one or employee number two, someone that really has a passion and a innate, like, a connection to the brand, a deep connection to the brand and the ethos and the philosophy, and someone that can portray that to the world. Like that should be your person that is talking about your brand all the time. And, whether it's on social media or podcasts or interviews or in the news or whatever, like that should be your sounding, that should be the speaker of your of your brand. So, yeah, I think just make sure that whoever it is authentic. They're coming from a perspective of grit and grind, and they're either the first, second, or third employee that's seen it all and done it all and been there in the trenches, and just be honest about it. The more brands wear their heart on their sleeve in the beginning, the better they end up, because
That's good.
it's genuine, it's heartfelt, it's honest, it's authentic, and people see that. Uh, that's why these AI videos and these AI, ads and stuff, they're okay, and they'll work to some degree, but ultimately, you see it, you can still tell what's real and what's not.
Right.
So now there will be a time where that's impossible, probably, and it's probably coming quick. But as of now, you still need that human, I think, perception and perspective.
Makes sense. Well, in addition to building that, you also turned around a bankrupt soda brand, which it's pretty impressive itself. How do you know, or how do you make the determination whether something is worth, a struggling company is worth fixing, or maybe, should be cut loose?
Yeah. So my buddy Ryan, he's actually the one that bought the brand, and honestly, it was a lot easier building that brand up than a startup. Because
Interesting.
yeah. So and it really should have never went away. But the weird, kind of the weird story is, so Anheuser-Busch, they were the exclusive distributor of this brand, Original New York Seltzer, and they were ahead of their time. Again, going back to our earlier points of being ahead of the game, they were an all-natural kind of sparkling soda in the 90s. Nobody was doing that in the 90s.
Right. It's huge now, but not then.
Yeah. So they were probably doing 200-300 million a year in the 90s, and Anheuser-Busch offered them, I think, 350 to be acquired, but the owner didn't want to sell, so they pulled their distribution and ultimately went bankrupt. And so
Wow, that's
owner,
rough.
yeah, so the owner, kind of a weird guy, honestly. He just had the brand and the name, and he had it for sale for years for $1 million. And he was kind of, like I said, he's kind of strange. He had these certain criteria you had to do before, no matter if you had the $1 million or not, there's other criteria that you had to do to like get the brand. you had to like spend like a day with him, like have dinner with him, like, and he was this weird like coin collector guy, like, I don't know, but ultimately my buddy Ryan did it and bought it, and he called me one day out of the blue, and that's what got me out of retail. And and moved back to LA and jumped in and kind of helped build that brand back up. And like I said, it was a little easier because everybody loved the brand. They were like so excited to hear it was back, and so they accepted it quick. We probably got into 10,000 doors in, I don't know, 2 months or something. Yeah, it was crazy. So that was a complete opposite of when I started Unify. It was like I was going into Unify thinking, yeah, this is going to be easy getting in all these distributors and retailers, and no, it was not. But Original New York Seltzer was a much easier play because people knew about it and they loved the brand anyway, and they were like, where'd it go? And so that that was a crazy journey, because that was my start in beverage and food and beverage, and it was on me to kind of build it up. And first thing I did was hire some great people from beverage to be my mentors and to help me, kind of build it. And so I stayed on the board up until we sold it in like July of 22, I think. So it was a interesting project, great brand. And yeah, we sold it. So it was a decent acquisition.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
But it was a good experience,
Ever notice how every leadership book tells you to take the journey, but none really show you the map? Well, after scaling multiple companies to over 260 million in combined revenue and working with over 1,000 leaders, I discovered the key difference that separates leaders who burn out from those who build unstoppable momentum. It's not strategy, not charisma, it's not even luck. It's relationships, specifically four of them. My new book, The Captain's Keys, reveals the stability matrix, a proven system that transforms leadership from survival into sustainable success. Inside, you'll discover the four critical relationships every leader needs and exactly how to build them. You can get your copy at thecaptainskeys.com, Amazon, or your favorite bookstore, and it's available in print, ebook, and audio. You don't need another playbook. You just need the right people in your boat. Yeah. Well, with multiple exits behind you, what's your take on timing? Yeah. How do you know if it's time to sell versus double down? I mean, obviously the first guy, the New York Salsa, didn't get that right. How is it? How do you think about that?
You know, it's a good question because there's so many variables to kind of consider. Because if you have a great brand, you know, I think most founders go into it with, deep down thinking, man, I'd love to build this up and get acquired for, hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, right?
Sure.
But once you get to the point where you've grinded and you've sweated and you've built it, and now you're revenue positive, you're cash flow positive, you're making money, and you're in it, 4, 5, 6 years, and now you're making a ton of money, right, on your product. Now you have your thought process is different. You're like, our people love our product. We have a great operational, system in place. We have great people. We're continuing to build. We're continuing to grow. Why would I sell it? I think that's a lot of the time when it shifts to that mindset. And then obviously it's just a matter of, because once your brand grows big enough, you don't have to go out to try to sell it. People will come to you wanting to buy it.
Right.
So, and that, that's more of the kind of the national brand landscape. Now if you have a business like an HVAC business that's doing 25 million a year and you're clearing 40% EBITDA, then you want to sell it. Trust me, you can sell it in 5 seconds, for really good value,
Yep.
So it's just different levels, different timing is everything. And I think, when I think about it, it's like, I think of two examples, Chobani being one, and Kind Snacks being another in the food and beverage space. That just, and I've spoke to both of those founders, and, they're, when they first started, there was their hopes was that we would build it up and sell it, in 5 or 6 years, but they went 10, 12, 13 years before they even sold a piece of it, So your mindset changes, the way you look at things change, your perspective changes. And I think, the harder you grind, the harder it is to build it, the harder probably it is to let it go or to sell it when you get to that point. And then you have the complete opposite sometimes in the tech space, right? Or the SaaS space, where you can build a tech platform or a tech product, and you go 3 or 4 months and somebody offers you $1 billion for it. It's so crazy.
Yeah. That sounds like lovable. Yeah. Some of the numbers are just crazy.
Yeah.
And 3 months and now you're worth $2 billion. I don't know who is making these kind of decisions, but sometimes it makes no sense at all to me.
Yeah, that's like pre-seed, right? Like they haven't even launched it, right?
Right. Yeah. 3 months, 10 million in ARR, $2.2 billion. Of course, makes total sense.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, that AI space, man, it's wild.
It is. Well, you built one of the top online marketplaces in the country. What's the most overlooked or maybe underlooked, I don't know, overlooked clever in building platform businesses or SaaS marketplaces?
Yeah, and I just want to make a point. It was one of the top CBD online marketplace.
Okay.
It was probably the top one. But at the time we built it in LA, and even in California, it was still such a gray area. So we had to be super creative in regards to like marketing and how to get around like ad spend and like, that would
Yeah.
shut you off and stuff like this. So we finally figured it out. And then it's funny because we added a component of, we figured out if we had this, we built this like CBD branded box, and the top 12 products on our platform had a chance to be in this box. And we put these boxes in like high-end hotels in the rooms. So
Okay.
the margins were crazy. And not only were the margins crazy, but as a product, you can not only be on our site, but you could also have a physical space in a high-end hotel. And then we did that, which was pretty successful. And then we also, had to build out opened a retail store, and use that for storage / 24-hour delivery in LA, because most of our orders were coming from LA or around LA. And so having that space to not only sell out of your storefront, but also have the back being a kind of a 3PL warehouse, so we could get out or ship orders out and get them to you same day, was pretty great.
Yeah.
And so we did that for a couple of years, and sold it to High Times, I think, Snoop Dogg's company.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't a great sale, but it was a fun experience, like building it up and like being a part of that tech kind of platform and industry, because I had never most of my stuff is consumer goods, so
Yeah.
which of course I had to make consumer goods a part of it by building a box, putting the products in the box, and
Right. Oh, that's really smart. It's a very unique business, and I
yeah,
think has its own set of challenges as well.
yeah,
Especially not only just the legality, but trying to figure out how do you market, how do you advertise, and stay within the guidelines of
yeah,
the platform, so you don't get ad account shut off and lose what you've built.
yeah, 100%. I mean, now there's a ton of like CBD and THC like beverages that are just crushing it. And I see,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I see those guys like uh, building their businesses like inside, plain sight, meaning that they're always like posting about it and like talking about it, which is great. I mean, I wish I could do that. I wish I was, that person. But I see them and I'm like, man, this is wild how much revenue they're doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's great. So that's going to be a huge, huge space to come.
Without a doubt. Well, you served as CEO, board member, and founder. What's the biggest leadership blind spot you see, maybe in early stage companies or with founders?
I think founders not knowing when to delegate, or when to give up some of the not control, but some of the responsibilities to folks that can handle them.
Yeah.
Because CEO is different at every stage, right? In startups, it's chief everything officer, and big companies, it's chief executive officer. And big companies, if you're the CEO, there's 5 levels between you and the customer. In a startup, it's you and the customer.
Yep.
So it's a totally different mindset, totally different outlook, perspective. So that's probably the one blind spot that I see a lot of, is just like founders and / CEOs of startups not knowing when to like ask for help, not knowing when to give up control of a project or an operational aspect of the company for somebody else to handle.
Makes a lot of sense. It is hard to know. I think it's hard to do. I mean, even when you know you should do it, it's
Yeah.
still hard to let that go.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I agree. It's yeah. So if you can find I think if you find something that you don't love to do, right? Like we have Jim. He is our finance and ops guy, and he is the guy. He's the man when it comes to spreadsheet stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that guy's the man because I hate it, and he's so good at it. So I'm glad I'm glad he's here.
I think that's always a challenge as founders, because there's a lot of things we can do, but we're not great at everything. And then, it's turning that over and letting somebody else that is their passion. I mean, they love the thing that we can do, but we're not great at it. We don't love it. And it's really, really refreshing to be able to turn that over to somebody like that. They can just take it and run with it and make it so much better than even we thought it could be.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. And
Very free.
And I think that's what, the foresight of the founders of this company, they brought me on as the CEO. And it was before before anything happened with the business. So I had a chance to come in and kind of navigate the marketing, navigate the operations, navigate the branding and go to market strategy and all that before anything kind of happened. So I feel like a founder, even though I'm not, but I've been building it like a founder. So
yeah. What advice do you have maybe for SaaS founders that are balancing vision with velocity? Pushing innovation while staying grounded in what the customer needs right now, but always keeping that eye on what's coming next.
Yeah. Man, advice. I don't know if there's any advice I could give in that percent with that, with respect to what you just asked. I think you have to be you just have to have that instinct within you to know, okay, this is, I'm on this path. I'm doing this work. I have to have my eyes, it has to go both ways. It has to, be on this, but also it's got to focus on 2 or 3 different things at once. And then also see things, down the road that are coming. Again, if you have folks that you trust, that you can delegate or, get those second and third and fourth sets of eyes on, then you're more comfortable with that main point of focus, because you have people that, that's going to have your back and bring stuff to your attention that maybe could get out of your line of sight.
Well, let's flip that. What mistake maybe from your earlier ventures turned into one of your greatest assets later on, lesson learned?
Oh man, so many. I have to pick. I have to pick one. Let me think of one. I think early on at Unify, I was putting my own mindset, philosophy of how I lived my life specifically into the product, meaning and the kind of the sell through and how we would go to market. So initially I was thinking we were going to do 2 SKUs, the 1 liter and a 20 ounce, but I was thinking we're going to sell 75% more 1 liters because we're going to go into a ton of gyms. Gyms are going to crush it. And turned out that we went into a lot of convenience stores and they took 20 ounce bottles and we had a ton of 1 liter bottles just sitting there, not doing that, not going anywhere.
Wow.
So, understanding that as you move forward, listening to others, asking more questions, not just relying on yourself, to internalize things and then output those in internalizations. So it's, it's learning, and as all first time founders will know, it's every second is a learning process. And if you can take those and build upon those and not make the same mistakes again, then you'll be fine.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's good stuff. Where can people learn more about you online?
I'm on social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. LinkedIn's probably my number one. So I think just Joshua Sizemore, you can find me.
Very cool. We'll make sure and link that in the show notes. Josh, it's been a great discussion today. Thanks for being on SaaS Fuel.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Awesome.
Thanks again, Josh, for coming on the show and sharing your journey and insights. You can learn more about Josh and his latest company, Feast Fast, at feastfast.co. As always, all links, highlights, resources, and full show notes are available at saasfuel.com. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel as well. It's at Champion Leadership. Lots of resources over there for you on YouTube. Thought leaders share. Share this episode with someone who thinks in Kanban columns and dreams in sprint cycles. I think I know some people like that. Do you? Everyone who shares this week gets a Scrum Master action figure that yells, "Scope creep," every time your priorities shift. Batteries not included because, hey, we're agile. How do you build a company that's as values driven as it is cutting edge? John Long is the founder and CEO of Think AI, where he helps companies unlock their growth potential using AI in ways that are grounded in integrity, curiosity, and a commitment to people. Then our next guest is Ryan Hogan, the serial entrepreneur behind Hunt a Killer. A lot of you have probably played that game or seen it out there. It's a huge CPG brand. Exited that and now is co-founder of Talent Harbor, where he brings genius and operational precision to recruitment. From creating immersive murder mystery games to shaping future fit hiring platforms, Ryan's journey spans military leadership, serial founding, and a passion for building stronger, smarter teams. I will see you next time, and as always, enjoy the journey.
Thanks for listening to SaaS Fuel. Full show notes for each episode, which includes a summary, key takeaways, quotes, and any resources mentioned, are available at saasfuel.com. Be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're enjoying the content and getting value from these episodes, please leave us a rating and review at ratethispodcast.com/saasfuel. We'll be sure to read these out on future episodes.
Let's go!